Hello, and welcome to Midwest Weekly. I'm your host, Hairwiz, and frankly, I am by myself today because we don't have CLT. So, for the first time ever, I will be giving you a breakdown of the week's action all by myself, but it might be a little different this time around. Yeah, so as you can tell, as I've already said, I am by myself here today. Um, we've had some really weird scheduling going on the last couple weeks, and unfortunately, CLT cannot make it today. Tried to get a special guest and not work out. So I'm gonna do my best to kind of go through these games. The episode probably will not be as long at this point since it is literally just myself. Um, and we still will have a little power ranking segment. Big thing is I'm thinking right now, instead of really going through the games in depth, which is what we normally try our best to do, I'm thinking more of an episode of maybe as we're like midway through the season. It's week 3. Week 4 is this week. Um, Maybe start discussing like what these teams can try to maybe do better. I'm not an expert um, at anything. It's just from my perspective. You know, instead of just trying to dive into each and every game so precisely, as well as maybe talk about some players that I think kind of stood out this week, um, and just kind of go from there. So if you don't like me, then you're not gonna like this episode. I guess if you do like me and my takes, then I guess you will enjoy this episode. Um, but yeah, it's a little different. So I do apologize, guys. We're just gonna do our best. I'd rather put an episode out there, put some content out there, than not do it. And so we'll try to get this done so I can have this out hopefully by tonight, and you guys can give it a watch. So yeah, first off, we're gonna dive into Group A. So our first matchup here is between Vancouver Impact Challengers and Capachungas Deluxe. Now I did get to cast 2 series, but this is sadly not one of them. I wish I had CLT here because he he did cast this one. Uh, Things that kind of stand out to me just by kind of looking at this first game here, guys. You can clearly see that Choros is kind of going off here on the Caitlyn. Um, and I believe that he role swapped too. This looks like a little bit of a different team. The AD looks like, or he used to be top, I believe, so he moved down to AD, and looks like Marco is now the top laner. So they did some stuff moving around. 34% of team's damage is absolutely insane. Definitely a little bit of a hard carry. When we look down here on the other side of the map here, we got Capachungas here, and um, standing out to me is the carries did their job. Joker and Pilk both had good games. 20% of team's damage. Score lines, aren't the greatest, but KDA is not everything. Um, so that's standing out to me. And I think that's a positive thing. As well as Golden Sunset, 20% of team's damage on top lane. I've been looking at this a lot lately on damage share because I think it's actually a pretty important stat in a team setting. Um, like for me, I feel like I don't do enough damage sometimes when I've played on small brains in the past. I think it definitely should usually go somewhere along the lines of like AD mid, then top usually in most circumstances. So I do think like when you're looking at both Caprichungas and Vancouver, I think the damage share is pretty good. I do think Choro's doing 34% is a little high, probably than what you'd want. Um, I mean, there are 2 tanks in the game though. If you got the Sejuani, you got the Braum, so you're not really expecting much out of them. But still, it's like still a little high. Maybe get a little more out of top if you can. But I'm not. That's not me harping on Marco by any means when I'm saying that. I just think I know that that's really important. Now sometimes it also depends like if you're in the team fights or not, right? But yeah, I mean this is kind of like what we're seeing here. I'll jump into the game a little bit and show kind of what's going on here. Um, we'll kind of scroll through. But yeah, I mean, of these 2 teams, for game one, we'll start with Capachungas because I kind of want to talk about them a little bit. I think from what I've seen of Capachungas so far, like their high strengths are definitely their objective. They've been setting up objectives, right, and how they are able to get control like that. I think that's actually a really good strength that they've picked up from the rec league and carried over into Sweat. Um, Whereas I think their laning is where it's maybe lacking a little bit and putting them behind in some circumstances. Also, just pointing out there's this lane swap too, which is very interesting. We don't see a lot of lane swapping anymore, at least not this early. But just noticing that is definitely an interesting thing. I do think it's harder for the Cyan. I feel like earlier, but it gets easier as he's able to collect some items. Um, but it's probably a little annoying early on in that lane. Whereas Mordekaiser's, he's got the sustain with W. He should be just fine. Marco's insane. He's actually walking at them 1v2. Um, but yeah, I feel like from Capuchungas, that's kind of been their weak point a bit, right? I think that when you look across the lineup, uh, Golden Sunset, it kind of stands out the most to me. Usually being able to perform pretty well coming from the top lane. Obviously, in the past, he's played AD carry. Part of me kind of wishes that he was back in the AD carry role because I think he's able to get these great pop off moments. And this is no knock on Joker at all. I think Joker's played phenomenal in the role. I just know like Golden Sunset can kind of take over a game, you know. So I'm kind of lacking that there in the top side. But again, I think they've carried a lot of that objective control well over into Sweat. But if you're behind in your laning, that's going to obviously impact you heavily and your ability to really control those objectives or really contest them. Um, so if they're able to work on that a little bit and just increase maybe the farm at certain times when they fall behind, like these little things, I think they'll be just fine. Like overall, I don't think the laning even as bad as I'm making it sound. Like it's not even what I'm saying. It's just something I've noticed they can improve on. Um, the other thing is just their small macro decisions at times. I think uh, they've shown to get caught out on like sides in the past. I think that can heavily impact like the way the game's gonna be played. Right, you need to be able to set up. Um, in order to set up objectives, you have to be able to get pressure, but you have to be able to survive the pressure. Right, that's kind of important. Now, sometimes you can trade a life for an objective. Um, but like you can even see here, early game, great job here by Foe to be able to secure this Drake, use the pressure from bot lane. Like I love that. On top of that, you know you're stronger than Sejuani. Like that is such a good thing by Capuchungas. And I've kind of talked and I've praised them since they've come into Sweat. I really think they've improved so much, and it's been overall impressive. But it's an uphill climb. I think in this group. Like there's definitely no easy outs for anybody. Certainly not for Capuchungas, right? Let's kind of scroll through the game a little more. Let's see if we can notice anything that kind of sticks out for us here. Uh, maybe go check out a Drake fight or something. I'm gonna try not to have any dead time, guys. But there's only so much I can talk about before my brain probably just combusts. um, we'll try to find the end of the game. I don't anticipate this episode being long either. Just so you guys are aware. Like, if you're watching this, I'm sure by the time we're finished with this, it's be like an hour, maybe an hour and a half if I could push it. Just because, I mean, I'm solo talking. How exciting in the chat. You guys gotta let me know after the end of the episode how exciting it was to listen to me babble on about stuff, man. All right, let's like watch over this Baron fight here because I see that's coming up. Let's see how this goes. But yeah, Vancouver's been really impressive too. I think Vancouver is a team that and I talked about it as the power rankings. They reminded me of Ninja Turtles last split. Like things are just not going their way. Obviously, this game does, and this series does. But other than this, so far it's been a bit of a slow start to them, to their season. And Group E is getting very very tight as it progresses. There's a lot of like 1 and 2 teams right now, with everybody like kind of trading wins. So I am generally curious how the split is gonna end up finishing out. A pretty close team fight. In the end, there it ends up being one for what 3? Yeah, Vancouver net. But I mean that's Capuchungas. Like they're showing you they can compete. Like this team is no slouch, man. I've been so impressed with them. Um, so let's go ahead and watch the ending fight, and then we'll move on here to game 2. And click a little farther ahead. All right, you can just see a beautiful Weaver's Wall here by Pilk trying to set up the fight, playing on the backside, trying to fight through it, but you're down 10k. It gets kind of difficult to play the game at that point. And everybody just kind of collapses. I do think that also the comp kind of lacks damage a bit. You have 3 frontliners, and then a Ashe Talia. Kind of makes me wonder if they just went something a little more damage heavy, like maybe a Sivir over the Ashe, which still brings utility. Would have been like your late game insurance there for Capuchungus. That's the only thing that really kind of sticks out to me on like the draft itself. Now that I'm kind of like looking back at everything here. Um, but yeah, once the gold gets insurmountable, man, it's really hard to kind of come back from that. So um, that's kind of just the situation there. And well played by Vancouver, picking up this big win. And we'll jump over here and kind of talk about um, game two. I'm just gonna get to here so while we're talking about it, it's loading in. So game two here, we got ourselves another really nice performance there by Choros. He is absolutely popping off. I mean, at least in damage, like the kills don't look as great. And Marco actually had a really nice 5-1-5 game on the set. How many kills? 15, 3, and 3 in that first game. It's insane. Yeah, no, the damage was there. So he kind of died a bit, but I mean, if you're 80 carries putting in the deeps, it's all good. Shaco support did work too. Wait a second, Marshall. What is this? Oh man, CLT would have loved to talk about this with me, man. This sucks. Shaco support. That's a new wrinkle. I haven't seen that in a long time. I got a buddy who likes to play that, but 26%. The bot lane together combined for over 50% of the team's damage on Vancouver's side. Absolutely insane. This is not what you expect from the support, but when you're playing into a Shaco, it's got to probably be the most obnoxious thing when it's AP and it's support. Let's look at the the Capuchungus draft here to see if there's anything that doesn't mind dealing with the Shaco. To be honest, like Shaco's good here. Like all these dashing champions, like they try to dash in and they run into a box, kind of ruins their entire play, right? The CC, the fear lasts a while. It's got to be so hard playing Ahri. You can't land free charms. You could just place a box and like use it as a peel tool for his team. On top of that, if you get feared once, you just probably get bandage tossed into your death. I kind of feel the same way about the Wukong, and I think Wukong's very strong. You guys have heard me talk about it repeatedly, but I mean, I don't know. I also see a Mumu kind of making a presence coming back. Some more Mumu here. But yeah, Joker had a nice game here on the Kai'Sa. 32% of team's damage, really popped off. But like pretty much everyone else on the team kind of just didn't do enough in that department. 8, 5, and 4 as well. Very impressive from Joker here, especially matching up here into Choros. Looks like they battled back and forth pretty much in this game. But yeah, I mean, even Alistar kind of doesn't get to play this game for free. He does have the self cleanse there with his Unbreakable Will, but if you're WQing in, like, there's no way to click R at the same time that you're comboing in. So if you go to combo and there's a box nearby, it just messes up your whole combo. Yeah, I think the Shaco pick is actually insane. Really smart draft here out of Vancouver. So let's go ahead and let's see a little bit here what's going on. And then let's talk a bit more about the Vancouver squad, which I think they've made some kind of changing around to their team, so it's only so much we can kind of touch on. But I almost feel like what the team is lacking isn't anything in particular in play. I mean, there is play issues. Let me not say there's no play issues. But this is like an important thing that people I don't think talk about as much. And that is going to be like overconfidence. I know that sounds probably funny, but this team so far, I believe, has won every single game won. Let me check that before I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure they've won every single game won. Let me get out of this real quick. So obviously they won this week's game one. I'm pretty sure they won the game one against. Yeah, they won this game one. And week one. Maybe they didn't week one. No, they did. So they've won every single week one matchup, okay? Or match in the series. This is important to me because, and this is what I thought. I think you can get some like overconfidence when you're winning, right? And I think it's actually a skill to be able to temper that feeling, that overconfidence, that high energy, and stay focused in the match, right? That's number one. And then number two, I think they maybe, just quite possibly, might have some maybe issues with champ diversity, possibly. I know that sounds weird. We're seeing this guy play Shaco support, but it's also been kind of a switch up on the roster from week one, right? Um, so it's just something I'm noting, and this could maybe be their turnaround, right? This victory over Capuchungas in this series could be that turnaround. But I don't think they play objectives too bad. I think their team fighting, it's a little chaotic at times, I feel, or people maybe aren't always on the same page overall. But the biggest thing is just like they feel like a team that knows they're good, right? They feel they're good. They win that first match, and they're like, all right, this is no problem. Take care of business. Going to game two, it's easy, right? And that's great. I think having confidence after a win is important. Like you don't want to like win and be like, like it means nothing. It means something. But like the great Kobe once said, when he was asked when he was 2-0 up in one of his finals, he's asked the question, "How do you feel?" And he said, "Like, are you not happy about the win?" He goes, "Job's not finished, right?" I think that's very important, right? We don't play like football where it's one game and you're done. We play three playoffs. We're gonna play five. So the win's good. Have the confidence. But go into game two knowing it's a whole new game. And I could have it completely wrong, and maybe that's really not what's happening in game two and game three for Vancouver. But at least that's the vibe I'm getting. Because they definitely don't play scared. Like, they got a swagger when they play, which I really like. I like swagger, right, Um, but it does seem like there might be some small nerves in there, Nothing. When I say nerves, like positive nerves. But then the positive nerves turn into negative nerves because you're just overconfident, right? So that's kind of my take on Vancouver as far as maybe something they can work on is just kind of staying focused throughout the whole series, playing it all the way through, and closing the deal once you have that lead. And then maybe cleaning up a little bit of, like I said, some of the team fights. They sometimes they don't seem like as much on the same page. Um, Man, I actually could understand why Choros didn't have like he died a decent amount in this game. By the way, you're dealing with you're dealing with a lot, right? You're dealing with Engage from a Bull. You got Wukong coming in probably could be a little annoying. He's good at creating space, and you have a Kaisa diving on you with that Engage, and you're trying to burn through a Cho'Gath, which Illusion's not bad at killing tanks, but that's not something he prefers to do. So trying to like shred the Lucian isn't very easy. And again, Campachung is here. Like I can't preach this enough. They're so good at getting early advantages in the bot lane and just turning that into a first objective. That is so impressive, man. And it really is. I know we're talking a little bit more about Vancouver, but it's just, again, I see this in game two. I see the exact same thing, and it's really just overly impressive to me. You know. So let's go ahead and do what kind of we did. Let's just kind of dive in a little more. Oh, let's see what happens in this fight. This little play here actually. I see Wukong spinning and I want to watch Wukong spin. I'm a simple-minded jungler. uh, if he ever gets down here, eventually. It's okay. Gives me a second here. Still dealing with this cough, guys. It's killing me. All right, there's a little nice engage. Yeah, this is a really nice engage by foe, and that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, it cannot be easy to deal with that as a Lucian, and you can't obviously shackle box the entire lane to avoid it completely. Shaco's just, I still can't get over that, man. I gotta fully kind of look at this game. Look how tight it was too. Capuchon has two Drakes and two Drakes here, man. They got the first two early Drakes. But the Otacon, there's probably an Otacon fight that they must have lost. Or was it Drake? So they had a 5v5 on fourth Drake. That would be their second. Campbell trying to go in, just creating space. I really love the attempt, but what an engage by Marco into a beautiful Curse of Sun Mummy. Well executed. That's the type of team fighting you want to see. Like you taking your abilities and just stacking them properly. right there between the set and the Amumu. I think Syndrome might have got a nice scatter of the week as well. But very, very, very well done. And then we'll just take a peek at the end of the game, kind of see what happened here towards the end. Man, this was a tight game all the way through. I think, yeah, this will pretty much be the ending fight, fighting over the soul. And Capuchon is really just upgrading their play. I might have to move them up in the power rankings, man. Capuchungas might be going higher soon if they keep this up. Oh yeah, that's pretty rough. And that's exactly what you don't want to see happen. Like if you're Capuchungas, right? Your front line just getting free focus because there's nobody there to follow up. Obviously, you're trying to get vision. You're trying to play around the objective, but and ends up costing them the game. Sometimes I know it's gonna sound funny too with like these types of things with souls. Sometimes giving the soul is the answer. I'm not saying they had to give soul there. I think it was a pretty tight game, but like if you just don't have the setup right. So with that said, we'll jump into. We don't know anything about this. Can't look at any stats on this series. Love it. Okay, we'll jump into coin flip versus Scorch. This was a win by coin flip. 2-0 sweep here. So let's go ahead and we're not going to be able to see all the stats that we want to see, but we can at least let the game play over, and we'll talk more about the stats at the end here. So let's go ahead and start with Scorch here and kind of talk a little bit about them. Scorch has been here in the league for a very, very long time. Pretty much the core rosters stuck around here for almost, it feels like ever, which is Rusty Crow, Boonstra, and Calico. They've been together since like 2022, 2021, like that area. So they've been here a long time. And they're a very strong core. I think Boonstra and Calico play bot lane extremely well. Once again, here you see them picking up their patented Swain and Zillion, something they've been liking. I remember talking about this a little bit last week. And kind of when I was actually muted for most of the initial starts of the game because I was dying. But I kind of figured this is the draft that we're going to go with once I started seeing some of the picks come out. I was like, it's got to be Rusty on something like an AD jungler with a higher damage. He went with the Graves. Makes sense. And he's been liking the Graves. I think he had a really, really nice Graves game in the previous week. And then you've got Ares, who's been always, since he's been on the team, very stable in the top lane. And then Bananasaur, who is returning. He played the 2 splits ago. Last split he was on Froggy style, and the previous split he was on Scorch. And in the mid lane. And I think Bananasaur is very, very, very like underrated mid laner, in my opinion, when he plays mid. He just does his job well, right? He does not worry about styling on nobody. If you need him to pick Malzahar, he picks Malzahar. You need him to play Syndra, he'll play Syndra. He's not looking to Yone in a match just to style on kids. He just wants to pick the thing that's going to help the team win, which I love, and he does it well. What I like about Scorch is their ability, though, as a team to identify their strong suits. They're very, very good at drafting for what makes their team good, and when they draft those comps, they use them properly in game. I don't ever see like an issue of like they're not playing the comp as designed. If they lose, they lose. Like if they get outplayed, they get outplayed. But they're going to utilize the draft properly. The second thing is I think Rusty has always been so phenomenal at getting advantages for his team. I really love him a lot when he's definitely on engage more than anything, but that's because he's a playmaker, right? It's like how would I compare him to her? It's kind of like this is not the comparison for the fact that I actually think he's like this caliber of player, but like a Keria. But Keria makes he makes plays. You know, I think that is something that Rusty's really good at. He's just good at finding plays for team. When he's on stuff like Graves, which I don't think he's bad at in any way, you're kind of taking that out of his hands to play make as much, and you're putting it in other people's hands. So here I feel like it's on Ares, it's kind of on Boonstra and Calico a bit to kind of set that up so the Graves can play the game. And I'm not saying they can't do that. I think Ares is also pretty good at setting up a team. It's just I feel like that's Rusty's strongest suit, and he's a good shot caller. I know he shot calls a lot of his team play as well. Um, where they're lacking, I mean, honestly, it's just probably at this point just cohesion again. Bannister was off the team for a bit. They've got to kind of get that back. I think that was winter split of last year, and they looked really really solid. I don't remember if that was the run. That wasn't the run into. No, I'm trying to remember if that was the run into finals, but it definitely wasn't that split. But um, like you saw their cohesion at the end of the winter split. Like it looked really really strong, and at the beginning it was a little rough. And that's kind of what it looks like again. Like they're reintegrating Bananasaur back into the team, and it's gonna take some time to kind of rebuild that. But I am worried for them because there's only 6 teams that make playoffs. Scorch missed the playoffs last split, so I know they're itching to get back to the dance, and I do worry that if they're not able to get that cohesion quick enough, it might cost them. You know, if it was 4 teams, they'd have a little more breathing room, but it's only 3 out of 7 that make it in each group. But yeah, I think their team fighting is good. I've never had an issue with that. Um, Butcher plays a lot of unique champions. He obviously is playing the Swain, but he obviously plays AD carries um, as well, like the Viruses, Jinx. Most of your standard AD carries. I know he plays like Syndra in the bot lane. He's not afraid to pick these mages down here, which is not only unique to him, but is something that is a specific thing that he is very good at. I also really love when he does it because it can throw teams off guard to a degree. Like he plays it, but like sometimes you're just not expecting him to pull it out. But I think here on the other side, I think Coinflip had a really nice answer. I think um, the Leona is actually really nice in this bot lane. Can just get in their faces, not allow them to get any free setups, and be very 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 aggressive in their faces to where the swing doesn't scale for free, and Caitlyn can slowly continue to build her lead based off her range, which is exactly what Bori did. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Morgana jungle. People have been pulling it out. Aristotle definitely likes it. It's kind of one of his picks, but I'm cool with it from Coinflip side of things. And then of course you've got the Mbessa and the Hwei. I think both are pretty good champs. Mbessa is definitely very good. Hwei is like more mid tier, but he's a nuisance to play against. Especially if you have champions with like dashes and stuff. Like that fear can just cuck the dash so easily. But yeah, I mean, looking at it, that's just kind of like one of those things where I feel if Coinflip gets through their early game, they're gonna outscale here, right? I mean, technically there's an ADC on the side of Scorch, but he's so low range. Caitlyn's going to outrange everybody, and if Malphite can't get on top of her and they one-shot the Caitlyn, it's so hard to play. And the Hwei, for that matter. He outranges too. Like he's kind of like this weird control-y artillery mage, right? So Syndra's got a bit back to equalize it up a little bit. But realistically, like, the range advantage is heavy, and as the game progresses, you're just going to get out-poked and out-DPS'd. And I think that's what's been smart about Coinflip's drafting is their ability to identify that they're really strong during their mid-late game, So let's just kind of go ahead and jump into it again. I know I casted this one, but my brain is for some reason not remembering how this game ended. That is right. They did get Soul. This has been a thing. Like I've noticed with some teams, like just dominating in the Drake department in some series. Like it's just not even close, and that's a big deal. I think if you're able to play for that, it's such a free win con. By the way, if you get Drakes, man, your game is set. And the idea, if you can get the first 2 Drakes, that's great. But you definitely do not want to be too far behind in gold, so you can contest third Drake. And if you are in Soul Point and you're winning, or even if you're losing but you're able to just contest but you get to Soul Point, I mean, you put so much pressure on the enemy team for the rest of the game. Like, it's 3 Drakes to nothing, and so every Drake feels like, you're like, we can't give this, we can't give this, we can't give this. And it causes teams to make mistakes. Something that Coinflip is obviously very good at punishing. That's why they're one of the best teams in the league. yeah, needing a soft reminder. I believe. So yeah, they do get. That's right. So they get three down inhibs, and then they try to turn onto Krieger, and unfortunately, and the Ocean Soul is just too much. And once you don't have that unstoppable force, like once the Malphite R is gone, like you pretty much cannot play the game if you're Scorch at this point in the game. You're 30 minutes plus. Caitlyn is scaled up. You know, about 4 items at this moment are working on the fourth item, so it's kind of just like a good luck moment. And kind of caught out split here, trying to do two things at once. So well played here by Coin Flip. Uh, we'll check the end game screen here. Did I? Here we go. We'll just kind of just show the final stats. We're not gonna be able to see like any damage share percentage, unfortunately. You can see damage dealt to champions though. I think it was actually a pretty low damage game overall, by the way, by both teams. There was not a lot of fighting. It was a very, very well played game where it was controlled by Coin Flip, and Scorch was just being smart enough not to like do anything crazy to lose the game in the earlier parts. But unfortunately, just weren't able to get to that scale point, and the Swain just was not able to really get in there and do the DPS because just nice range setup and so much CC to not let him in. So let's go ahead and jump into game 2 here. All right. Yeah, so game 2. Oh yeah, this was. I remember game 2 clear as day. Game 2 was so unfortunate because Rusty Crow and Bananasaur had this combo, and anytime the combo worked, Nocturne Orianna combo worked, they were pretty much winning the fight. If it didn't work, and there were so many times they unfortunately messed it up, they just insta lost the fight. That was this game. Also, Aristotle on Amumu is kind of insane. The guy's very good on Amumu. Don't give this guy Amumu if he's jungling. Oh my goodness, so sad. On top of that, they could never really go on Bori, right? If she has Featherstorm, I think that's what it's called. You cannot make that play, right? You have to ignore the AD carry that's going to do tons of damage to your team, but at the same point, like you just have to, because if you use the combo on her and she dodges the combo's it's just as much as it's the same as missing it just straight up, right? I kind of was a hater on the Mundo pick. He ended up doing okay in the game, but I feel pretty overall justified. Just feels like, yeah, he's a big tank, but I mean, they have Xayah, Victor. They're going to be able to shred the Mundo. It's really not that much of a big deal. And the Camille to help with some of the burst on the Mundo. So, I feel a little weird. But if the combos were working, I mean, this is the part that I will say. If the combos were working, then the Mundo is going to be better because they're always going to take someone out of the fight, right? If you take someone out of the fight, which I think Victor should be your target. Victor or Geopro, every fight, that should be your main target. Once they're gone, like the game is in your hand. Now the Mundo gets just walk at them pretty much for free. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about Coin Flip though. And I think this series they played it a little better in terms of the early game, which kind of has been my thing that I've been harping about them for the last couple weeks. It's just I want to see the early game improve from them. I think it's been a little rough at times, and it's kind of put them in some scarier situations. But I will say that the mid late game is so strong that it makes up for it. So if they get to that mid late game, kind of like last game, kind of like last week, man, they just take over games. If they have a Drake advantage, you just probably kiss the game goodbye. This game's 25 minutes plus. Good luck winning it. Not saying you can't, but it's going to be much harder and much more difficult. And they've been drafting for it a lot of times. Like I know Bori likes the Smolder pick, for example. Really smart there. Again, kind of identifying. Which brings me to Bori. I kind of want to talk about Bori for a second. He's been a guy that's like, we all know he's won twice in this league. He's a back-to-back champ. He's got some finals MVPs. Dude's extremely, extremely good. But I think he's had his most quietest split, and part of that could be just, playing with Coin Flip. This is not his original unit. I know they're all like really close, so I'm sure that helps a bit, like to not have the kind of the turnover to a new team being as rough or anything. But you can see it a bit. Like they're still learning that progression of how they want to play together. Bot lane, GeoPro and Bori. But they still look solid. Like GeoPro has been so good at setting up vision and getting control over objectives and doing kind of the GeoPro thing, which is just not caring. I'm gonna fight you type thing. He's been phenomenal. So like, don't take anything away from the bot lane. They've been good, and definitely one of the strongest parts of the team. I am curious what the team's gonna look like when Matthias comes back on the top lane. He's been out now for like 2 or 3 weeks. He's literally played 1 week with the team, and that was against Capachungas, I believe. So I am very curious if this team is gonna look like worse or better with his return. And that's obviously not a knock on him. That's more of just, again, you're moving things back around. Krieger's right now he's the sixth man, so he'll be back on the bench. You'll have Brandino back on the jungle, which is his second role. Top is his main role, and you'll have Aristotle on his main role, which is mid instead of jungle. So it'll be very interesting there. But as they work through it and they get through these kinks and they're able to get better with the early game, I really feel like this team could be really, really good and very, very, very strong in the playoffs, to where there's almost going to be nobody that can beat them, um, except for like maybe Instinct, right? Uh, Even with all that said, though, as long as the early games where they lack a bit, if you can get a 3, 4, 5K lead at 14 minutes, I think it's going to be harder for Coinflip to come back from that. With all that said, yeah, this game, it really did just come down to the combos, though. It was very close. The series was very close, in my opinion. I think Scorch played pretty well. They weren't shut down and blown out by no means. This was not that type of series. They looked overall pretty good. It's just they ran into a buzzsaw, which is coin flip. And like I said, the combo. I'm not gonna go look for them on purpose. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna put Rusty Crow and Banana Sword in that situation. But just know that there was definitely a couple shockwaves that were just alting the air. Like, it did not go in their favor. And I'm sure the Soul also did not help, right? Again, Cloud Soul, so speedy on the map, so it makes it harder. Maybe you're not expecting, like, you're expecting Nocturne to get there in a certain time. Oh, well, that's the example. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I mean, that happened time and time again, and I think this was the end of the game too. Like, once you miss that combo, like I said, it's so hard to fight. So, and that's pretty much how it ends. But yeah, congratulations to Coin Flip. They pick up another win. I think that moves them to 3-0 on the season. So they've been looking great. Next up, in the last of Group A, we've got Small Brain No Mechanics versus Insane Banana Posse. And thank God there is some stuff to talk about here. So, Small Brains here. Really insane performance here out of both Zema and Mono. I mean, like, what is that? Do some math real quick, guys. That is 70% of the team's damage between the two of them. That is gross. With all due credit, the rest of the team didn't really pick damage champions. So, and yes, I did play. If you're wondering, I am back on the team as a 6-man. Unfortunately, things didn't really work out with Ghost. Won't go into that. And then I'm sure you guys have also seen that they're no longer going to be competing this split. It's kind of really, really tragic how things kind of panned out. But nonetheless, I am here as a 6-man. So I was technically at the time I was actually just subbing for One Punch Zach. He was out. But yeah, so you see me, I'm playing back on the team here. And I took away the Nautilus from War. I know if you watch this War, I was not gonna let you have your your one trick champ. I didn't want to ban it. I wanted to play it. I like Nautilus jungle. I actually don't think it's broken by no means, but it's not that bad as it might seem. Solid little performance for me. Nothing crazy. See, I don't do damage though. This is what I mean. I need to do more. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't need to do more in this game. Zema and Mono had it under control. My job was just to sit back and set the CC up for them. But yeah, just insane performances out of both of them. From Insane Banana Posse, it was one of those games where, like, once we got the ball rolling, I just felt like they couldn't get the ball back. But you can't have a game where one person is doing that much damage, by the way. Like, Ghost Tiger did 40% of the team's damage. I almost want to say that's unacceptable. Like, the rest of the team definitely needs to step up and do a little more here. He's playing the Victor. It's going to scale well. Like, it's a very strong overall pick, but that's just, you definitely need more. Yeah, he died 8 times, but, like, he's doing what he can to try to keep the game in the balance, but it just wasn't going in their favor. This was a, let me click on this. This was definitely a game where it kind of felt like we could do no wrong on the side of Small Brains, and it made the game just flow so nicely. And I do think the picks were good. On from our perspective, kind of got the draft we wanted there. But with that said, let's talk a little bit about Insane Banana Posse. I do want to talk about them, and I want to kind of talk about what can they do to improve, and what are their strong suits. Well, first off, I think Ghost Tiger is just fantastic. I want to start there because I think he's kind of the core of the team with Crackler and War. I think they do wonderful. And then Thresh all day, if he gets his picks, man, he's an absolute menace. I know I've seen him. Obviously on Thresh, he's good. I've also seen him on the stuff like Seraphine perform really, really well. This guy's got a knack for setting up plays. The team looks solid right now. This is very similar to the original Insane Banana Posse, except one-handed gaming up top side instead of. I'm trying to remember the original top laner, and I just can't. But this is from about a year ago, when their first split when they played. This is pretty close to that unit. And oh no, well, War was top, so it was really who's the jungler? Yeah. By the way, War has now played four different roles. He's played top lane, support, mid, and now jungle. War's trying to play every single role. He's hilarious. I'm expecting AD out of him next split. Um, but yeah, the team's core is very, very strong, and they play well together as a unit. Also, I think one-handed gaming coming from the rec league has played pretty well on the top side. I don't think he's had too many situations where he's been kind of destroyed in the lane by any means. Like, he's mostly been able to survive the lane well enough to get to the team fight phase and play well with the team. And same with Nan Posse right now. They got that series win over Vancouver, so they got some bright spots. But with all that said, like this situation here, it just comes down to, I think, how deep is War's pool is a real question for me. I don't know his jungle pool well, and if he doesn't have enough champions, how can they work around that? That's a key thing, and I actually think that's similar problem for Small Brains, and we'll get to that when I talk about them. But I think pool in a fearless draft setting is massive. Like, you should have probably 6, 7, 8 champions you feel comfortable playing at any point. Like, it's not like before, you come in with 3 or 4 champions for most of the split and you're pretty much fine. And then you got a couple pocket picks. No, you need like 8 champions right now. Like, you can get picked out, you can get banned out, you can get whatever, make it impossible for you to pretty much get your champs. Like, you might get a champ game 1, but are you going to get your champs game 3? More than likely not if you have a small pool. If you have 3 or 4 champs, you legit could get 2 banned, 1 picked in game 1 by you, 1 picked by your opponent in game 1, and then all of a sudden you have basically none. And maybe you have a pocket pit in game 2, but what do you do in game 3, right? And so that's something I'm curious about. I definitely don't know War Initiate's pool. I've seen him play the Jarvan. Obviously, we've seen him playing Daughterless Jungle. He's playing the Volibear here. So I'm curious, how deep does that go? And I think that impacts him a bit, and it impacts the team a bit. The other thing is jungle mid synergy, right? I think that's also very, very important. It's something that I think it's not something that War is probably used to doing, is kind of working off of mid pressure or mid plays. But I think Ghost Tiger is pretty good in lane. He's usually pretty good at getting advantages, the push, all that. So it's something you can play off of. When he played with, and I know it was his brother. It was Ghost Tiger's brother, I'm pretty sure, by the way, that played jungle. And I wish I remember. If you watch this, tell me who his name is in the comments. I just can't remember. I need to know. But yeah, that is very important. I think Crackler and Thresh all day are great in the bot side. Like, they definitely know how to play well together. They can get advantages for themselves. But yeah, those are like my big concerns for Insane Banana Posse right now. And then that leads to some uncoordinatedness. I think that's what's causing some of like people getting picked off on side lanes and stuff, like specifically Ghost Tiger because he's not being really shadowed by War too much. Maybe the support's not coming over. You know, you want to keep your sides safe. Um, but I do think Insane Banana Posse is a solid team, and they're going to be fighting for that third seed, just like the rest of the pretty much coming down to I think it's going to be Small Brains, Vancouver, and Scorch all trying to compete for that third spot. Where I think Hashira and Coin Flip are going to get that one too. We'll see when they play each other, and that'll decide who gets the one seed. That's just what I'm thinking it's looking like right now. So, um, so yeah, that's kind of my breakdown. It was a really fun game one. Um, there there was like a small I think there was a small glimmer of hope where I think um, Insane Banana Posse possibly they got come back. They got like a shutdown on Zema topside. They did a which I thought was a great play. It was a great cross map play, but we were doing like Drake or Anaconda or something, and they were able to acquire like two turrets, a shutdown on Zema, a kill on Vic. So they got a lot of gold back. It was a great play. They overloaded one side and said just send it. I think that's great, and that's smart from Insane Banana Posse, and something that the fact that they can identify that is massive. Like sometimes teams cannot do that. They just can't understand like you're not winning. You got to do something that the team is not going to expect. The enemy team does not see coming, and that's how you get your kind of way back in. So Insane Banana Posse is identifying that and finding like their own little win cons in games, which is very impressive. Um, but yeah, we'll kind of show the ending of the game here. Uh, so what exactly happened? This is around the time the game ends. I don't even remember. It's been a couple weeks. I can't keep track of my all the other games, let alone even my own time game when I play. It's kind of just sad. Either my memory is going, or I just really need to start taking more notes, guys. You guys can harp on me for not doing that. I used to take some notes. I'm not gonna lie to you guys and not do it as much offhand, but it's been hard to keep up with the time. I know CLT feels the same way. It's partly why I'm doing this by myself. Like it's been hectic, man. So we're trying our best to hold it down. Uh, but yeah, looks like it's just mostly just some catches. I don't even remember getting these picks. But yeah, the game did kind of feel like it ended abruptly. I don't even think we got Baron. Just game just ended. We got a couple picks, and then the game was over. So, or like a small little team fight in the mid. Was that what it was? So, but nonetheless, we can kind of discuss game two. Uh, okay, yeah, it is just a team fight in the mid. Okay, and I'm pretty sure we end right after this. Yeah, that's crazy. Nice TP from Zema too. That was insane. All right, I will pause this for a quick sec, and we'll jump into game two real fast. So yeah, game two here. Um, this game was fun for me personally. I had the most fun I've on a league game in a while. The Wukong was really enjoyable. I'm telling you guys, I love Wukong. Here's why. um, I'm gonna say this was actually the game that Zema probably had one of his. He would even say himself his worst performances, and the team was able to pull out a victory, which is actually pretty impressive. Because if you've ever watched our team, you know that Zema is kind of the guy that kind of mostly controls the pace of the game with his with how he's playing. Um, Vic pulling out a really nice Orin here had a really nice game setting up for the team. Still did nearly 20% of the team's damage. I mean, the damage share spread it looks beautiful here. Like from all your roles, like exactly what you want. 25 on both AD and mid, 22 off jungle, 19. I mean, that's you can't even get almost any better than that. And unless your Maokai somehow does 20% too. But this is a tanky Maokai. On the other side, Insane Banana Posse, Ghost Tiger, I think had a really nice game and was even like outplaying Zema pretty hard at times. It was actually very impressive from him. Um, Crackler had a quietly really good Tristana game too. He was kind of a problem in the game for us, he got pretty fed. I think he got like a quadra kill too, or a triple kill or something. He was definitely popping off. One-handed gaming. This was probably his worst performance yet. He just did not have the game. He had a nice little dive top, but that was basically it for him. He got the one kill, and then the game just kind of fell apart for the Renekton, unfortunately. Um, so we can kind of dive into it, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about small brains where I think they can improve. So I think like their biggest issues um, are specifically fighting on bad timers has always been a problem for them, and then like whether it's item timers or cooldowns, right? That seems to be a lot of their mistakes if you watch their games. I can't say a bit from experience because I've played obviously, but the other thing is I do think there is some concern there for One Punch. We've kind of talked about it. I don't think his champ pool is huge. He's got about 3 or 4 champions that I know he plays, and I think that matters. And people have identified that already. The split through their bans, so that's a concern. Right? We just talked about that with War Initiate. We don't know his pool either. If you don't have a deep pool, especially in the jungle role, like that's the other thing. The jungle role, which is considered the most impactful and important tempo role in the game for competitive play. Um, that is big, right? So we'll kind of see how that pans out for the rest of the split, and I'm definitely very curious, even from not only just being on the team but also being on the sideline because I'm subbing. So anytime they need me to come in, I'm gonna come in. Um, we'll discuss that next week because I came in for something, but yeah, that's kind of where that comes down. But I think the positives, Small Brain's really good at drafting, really really strong team fighters, and um, really, really good at identifying how they want to play the game. Like, and just they do that. They don't worry about trying to do anything overly fancy. What they're good at, that's what they do. Team fight, get in your face, objectives, win game. That's how they've pretty much always played it. They don't really do any crazy like splitting or anything like that. That's not really their identity. So they know their play style, right? That's not a problem there. Uh, so as long as they're picking around that stuff and they're getting those things, they're all right. And in the games they've won, they've done that. In the games they've lost, you see those issues kind of pop up and be a bit of a problem. But um, overall, they definitely have showed a lot of promise so far. I mean, they're 1-1. They lost that first week. They went 1-2 against Hashira. And I think you saw a little bit of that champ pool issue there in that series as well. I mean, we could definitely go back and look at that if that was definitely an issue. Um, but it's also again like when they're not on the same page, getting caught out. That's where you see the problems kind of come up as well. So they definitely got things to work on. They've always been a pretty strong team overall. Never missing, I think, playoffs once. Could this be the first split? Maybe. We talked about it with Scorch. We talked about it with these guys. You've only 3 teams make it, right? So out of each group. So there's no gimmies here. Every game matters. Every series matters. Um, but I think overall the series was good. Um, and like I said, I personally had a lot of fun. The Wukong game was like I said, some of the most fun I've had. Uh, we're able to get a lot of nice engages, nice plays set up with the Wukong on top of the Maokai alt and Ornn alt. It made it so hard to get into our faces. Even with like Silas having these alts to play the game, it just didn't feel that bad. Like I said, there was one like really disorganized fight where Tristana really popped off, but other than that, like I think the game went pretty well, and Small Brains played it how they pretty much are supposed to. Um, so we'll show this ending fight, then we'll move on to the next group in the next series. Because I still don't even remember the last fights. Pretty long game too. And Saving Nanopause is really good at pushing games. The distance, like generally speaking. So yeah, this was I remember this. Yeah, we got Baron and we're like just push it down. Just use the Baron buff. Um, it does mean we don't get Soul, but I don't know. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments. Do you think that's a good trade overall? I mean, let's just say we don't win the game, and then we just get some turrets and gold, and maybe we 3 inhibitor them. Is that a good trade? I am generally curious. I think it's a great trade, but that's like a macro thing. So Soul is forever, as they say, and Baron is not. So if you're using the Baron to just get stuff. Also, by the way, monster engage from Vic. It was absolutely disgusting. But yeah, I definitely something I'm curious about. It was a nice wombo combo. All right. Let's go ahead and move into Group B here, where we had Ninja Turtles versus Free to Play 2.0. And we will click on, where is it at? Where is it? Why can't I find this one? Here we go. Okay, we go a little further back. So cover right here. Perfect. Alright. So Mr. Bufa has returned to the top lane. Nice Gnar game, 7-2 and 12 on his return. Sam Lad going absolutely off on the Orianna. 13-1 and 13 with a nearly 40k damage, 34% of the team's damage. Very impressive game. In fact, so impressive that Tanglefish, who was playing Yunara, basically was absent apparently in this game and got hard carried by his team. Just kidding. I mean, that's actually literally what happened though. But that's actually very impressive. I think Tanglefish always performs very, very well. And so it's nice to see though that like Sam Lad kind of got some shine. Mr. Bufa coming in here and taking care of business. Very good game by the solo lanes here to get that control. Also, nice combo there. Orianna Jarvan, obviously a well-known combo. You still had the Orianna plus Alistar or Orianna plus Gnar, which is crazy. Like, Orianna has so many setups here. But that's also good drafting. And great synergies. Gnar plus J4, another great synergy. So, Ninja Turtles continues to impress me with the drafting. I think it's really, really good. Free to Play 2.0, they've been struggling here and there. Sometimes they're having some success, sometimes they're not. Here you see both Check Hunter and Gunman having good games overall. They're doing the team's damage that they need. Probably would like to see a little more out of the Mordekaiser Wukong here, especially because I think Wukong, again, I've stated, is strong. So I want to see more damage output from Wukong. And then Guilty Free Soul up here, playing the Mordekaiser. Looks like a bit of a rough game, but I also think it's not that easy. Like, I just played Nard top lane in a flex game against Mordekaiser, and Nard just seems to outscale the guy and just plays at range. It makes it so hard for him to play the game, so I'm not really that surprised. Mordekaiser can beat an R, by the way, but I could see where the struggling could come from. Overall, I think it's two pretty decent drafts. Not a lot of stuff, though, for the Mel to reflect, which is actually, like, pretty big to consider. And I don't know if Corki really loves playing this game. He's going to try to kill tanks. I don't think he really prefers that. So I do think free to play maybe could have drafted a little better. Like, I think you want something more hyper carry-ish in either mid or the AD role. Otherwise, the overall draft is pretty good. And let's talk about free to play. I've watched them play now a couple weeks, and I'm still like really just trying to identify the team. I'm still learning the team. They've had like some nice games into some of these good teams, like Instinct, for example, but they just haven't been able to get over the hump and get some wins. I think Check Hunter has been a really highlight of the team. He's performed well in almost every single one of their games. I don't know how to say the jungler's name, but I think the jungler's played pretty well as well. Like, I think the mid jungle synergy is pretty good. Bot lane, they're a little like they're not the best at getting the advantages that you'd probably want, but from them, especially when you're drafting some of the drafts they've had, but they're definitely good when they get together as a team. So I feel like free to play overall, like when they're grouped as like 4 or 5 members, they're actually pretty strong, and they can play off the back of Check Hunter well. But they definitely seem like they need more time to cook. Unfortunately, I don't know if they're gonna get that time. I believe this moves them to 0-3 on the split, and that's obviously not a place you want to be. That means you basically are in a must-win situation for the last 3 weeks, and it's an uphill climb, right? They've already got Instinct out of the way, though. They've obviously uh, got the Ninja Turtles out of the way, so they got like I think the top two teams of the group out of the way. But I mean, now you just got to start picking up the wins, and it's definitely not going to be easy. I think they even lost a team 3 if I remember correctly. So it's definitely going to be very interesting. They can certainly pull it off. As far as things to work on, I mean, like, I don't know. I think just continue to play the game. I know it sounds funny. Like, I've only watched a couple of their series, and it's just I don't have as much to go on. It's harder to kind of say. A lot of these teams in this league, they've been around for a long time. I've learned so much about them. I've learned their weaknesses, their strengths, just from watching split to split to split. And obviously each split is different, but um, you know, yeah, I wish I had something for you guys. But I don't think the team is bad. I actually like the team a lot from what I've seen of them. And they seem like really nice people. So I definitely want to see them start picking up some wins. Um, they are definitely good at punishing when they need to punish, but it's just been definitely a rough split for them. And it's not an easy group. Like, I don't think anything in any group is easy, by the way. So let's kind of like scroll through a little bit here and see what happened. Maybe we find a little fight. Hey, here's a fight. I saw some double triple kill. I see Mr. Bufa doing something, making plays. And that's something you definitely do not want to fight Nar around when he's mega if you don't have to. Um, so I will say the Wukong pick is great in the J4. By the way, like I don't think Woohoo should have the easiest game playing this into J4. But on the other side, I actually think Nexus picking the Alistair is actually big here. He kind of negates a lot of what uh, they want to do on free to play side, and he can always pretty much combo the monkey unless the monkey immediately clicks his alt, and there it is. I mean, what a nice engage. Cuddy just dropping immediately, and then they just get run down from there. So really well played, and a beautiful flash there on Mr. Bufa. Was that a triple kill? No, it ends up just being a double for this guy. Absolute menace. Let's go ahead and take a look at the end of the game here, if we can find it. Is that the end right there? Pretty much. So there's got to be one more fight. Also, 30-minute game. These drakes were not really taken on time, were they? 30-minute game. There's only 4 drakes taken. That's crazy. Doesn't even make sense to me. Alright. That's cool. Sometimes, drakes are not important. We don't want drakes. No objectives. But yeah, I picked a start and beautiful combo there from Nexus and Sam Ladd just to kind of put the nail in the coffin there. Woohoo making sure to use the Cataclysm on a target that cannot escape. Just a really, really nice coordinated fight there by Ninja Turts. So with that said, we'll jump into game 2 and continue to finish up this group here. I'm like clicking endlessly to try to find where the start of this game is. Okay, cool, thank you. Game 2. Okay. Game 2, Mr. Bufa on Renekton. I remember this pick for Mr. Bufa. He's definitely a very good Renekton player, so I'm not surprised to see 12, 4, and 5 from this guy. I'm glad he's back. I don't know what was going on last week, but I'm glad he's back. Tanglefish. Now, that's a Tanglefish that I know, too, by the way. 34% of team's damage, absolutely going off. 10, 2, and 9. And another beautiful draft on the Ninja Turtles. I think Morgana mid is something that's kind of underrated. I'm glad I'm seeing people pick it up right now. Really nice game from Sam Ladd, 3-1-18. Nexus playing his patented Rel. So pretty much, and Wuhan Jin's out too. Wuhu definitely was a Jinja enjoyer last split. They're getting their picks. They're happy with their picks. Hard to beat Ninja Turtles. I'm their champs for sure. Free to play here. Going to go for the Malphite, which... Why did Malphite do 37% of team's damage on the damage share? mean, it's only 25,000, but still. I guess he was hitting the Renekton a bunch. I'm gonna assume that's what it was. Chuck Hunter having a really nice game on the Ari. 4-4 and 3, pretty chill there. Unfortunately, Gunman and XCuddy having a bit of struggles there in the bot side, and you're playing against the Smolder Rel, so you should win early in that lane. Not really entirely sure what happened. And then Viego. I don't like Viego. I'll never like Viego. I want to hate on that champion all the time. I think Viego's, and I've said this time and time again, his win con is something that I don't think is ever great, which is like, got to get the resets in team fights to set up the champ to become an absolute menace. I don't like that. I don't like a lot of reset champions. And he's certainly not one of them. Like, if we're talking Tristana, that's fine. Like, she doesn't have to get resets to play the game. Oh, crazy invade to start. Holy moly. No wonder why the game didn't go as well for them. XCuddy ends up giving over the first blood to a flash Q out of this Renekton. Yeah, that's rough. Really nice stack there. And punishing the Nautilus. Single target compared to what is I think a 5-man W out of Nexus. That was insane. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, Viego, I just don't like the champ, man. I would never be a big fan of it. There are spots where it works, and I think if you draft well around it, which I think Viego loves, just like blow up a target. Like, that's what he prefers. Here, there definitely are targets to blow up, but there's a more ground on the game. Nautilus has a harder time CCing people and locking people down, so it's not as free. So there are definitely some issues there for them to play the game with the Viego pick. So with all that said, let's talk about Ninja Turtles. So you guys know my feelings. I guess you can say I'm a Ninja Turtle fan or something, because I love this team, man. But no, Nexus is a great guy, so that's part of that. Kind of helps. He's helped out a lot in the league, so it just made me even a bigger fan of his squad. But they're all nice guys. With that said, I think something that I've seen maybe carried over a little bit into this split is just, not completely, because we just saw Sam Led had a really nice game, but my concern is just like, can they make sure mid and top are doing like really, really well consistently, so that when bot lane is maybe having a harder matchup, kind of like they did in game one and it worked out, can they sustain that and turn? Because I think bot lane, like, I think Tango and Nexus set up the game so well. They know how to, like, ensure that the team has a lead off of their backs a lot of times. That's what I saw a lot last split. So, and I've seen some carryover here where they're doing that still. But at the same point, that's my concern with solo lanes is if they're not getting their champs and doing their jobs, it's really hard for Tanglefish and Nexus to then set up the game. Woohoo's always very, very stable there. He does have his little aggressive moments. But yeah, the big thing is, like, it feels like this team flows through the bot lane. And so you definitely want to make sure the bot lane's having success. And if they're not, you have to pick up the slack. And that's kind of my concern from them right now. And I'm not saying, like, the solo lanes are bad. I'm not saying Samlet's a bad player or Mr. Boof is a bad player. That's not even what I'm saying. So please, nobody take it that way. Obviously, Nexus, I'm not saying that about your boys. I'm just saying I do feel like the team kind of flows through the bot side of the map. And if they're not doing well, the games aren't doing well. Usually they struggle. So whatever that game one was, continue to do that. And you're going to be fine, right? Like, I think Ninja Turtles are going to be fine. But I haven't seen improvement from the team from last split. They definitely have gotten better, right? I'm happy to see them sweeping teams and not having to endure the win game one and lose. They're kind of the Vancouver thing. But their drafting is very strong. I think they draft well. I think they're another team that's really good at drafting for what they want and how they want to play the game. So they identify that well. I'm going to be honest, they kind of remind me of my team a little bit in that aspect, because they know their win cons. They know what they want to do. It's just they flow more through bot, where we flow through more through mid, right? And that's just different teams, different styles. And I do think they team fight overall pretty well as well. So Ninja Turtles is going to be a hard team to beat this split. I do expect them to make the playoffs this time around. and I think any team can certainly struggle with them in the playoffs. So that's going to be really fun to see. But yeah, I think the team's right where they need to be right now. They're sitting 2-0, right? I think they're 4-0 in matches, I want to say. I have to go back and look, and I'm too lazy to. But yeah, nonetheless, they're 2-0 in series right now, right? Week 4 is going to be really big for them. They get another win, and they're pretty much, they haven't locked anything up or anything, but they're pretty much right where they need to be, and the stress kind of starts to fall off, and they can just start focus on mostly just how do we improve for playoffs. So that's kind of my take here on Ninja Turrets. Let's go ahead and scroll on over, see how the series ended. So we can go ahead and get into the next one. I clicked a little too far. My bad. Okay, why am I paused? What is that? Oh, the game itself is paused? that's so confusing. Well, I'll just leave it here. But yeah, we see a pick off here, onto Gunman. Your AD carry is out of the fight. So it's gonna be hard to play. Also, drafting, I'd have to go look at the draft for it to like really matter. But I will say like the Morgana pick really makes this draft almost unplayable because it's a lot of single target CC, and then you want your Kaisa to dive in and pick off whoever, right? Whether it's Tanglefish or in this case maybe Sam Ladd. But the Morgana shield, man, that makes it hard to do. So that was just a really nice pick. In fact, let's just check the draft again real quick. This is game 2 draft right here. Morgana was picked. It was picked first pick. Okay, free to play. Here's the thing to work on drafting. Then this is huge. Work on the drafting. I don't like Nautilus into Morgana, and it has won this week, but overall, it's not easy to play into. Even if it's not your lane opponent, I'm not a fan of that. But all right, let's go ahead and move into the next series, which is Femboy Jellyfish versus Team 3, which happened over a week ago now. I mean, we are well removed from this. This is another one I casted. And, Femboy Jellyfish kind of came out gunning. Rarika had an insane game on Kiana, but damage share is really good. Noah was filling in top for Dippy, and then just so everyone knows, Mac changed his name. So that's what was throwing me off. This was Mac the whole time. Dude is pranking me. So if you watched my cast, that is why I thought there was 2 subs. But Mac was in, just changed it to Angel Boy. But yeah, damage share looks great. The draft was good. Terra's kind of getting a pick he's really good on with the Sejuani. Higgins has been playing this Rakan. This Thresh type picks has been looking really good at kind of setting up for the team. But yeah, the biggest story is just Rika. I think this Kiana was absolutely insane and rather cracked, to be honest. Noah also did get some really disgusting flanks on the Jax. On the other side, Team 3, I thought they drafted well. I think Yalkovich getting an Ambessa. Ambessa and the Jax is an easy matchup, but it's not impossible to play. Obviously, Trundle's a counter to Sejuani. So I do like that pick there by Alves. More of a standard jungler. I'm a fan of that. Zelda's been liking this Vel'Koz. I'm iffy about the champion, but I do think he plays it well. And then bot lane here with the Xayah Leona from Big Sexpert and Journey. It wasn't easy for them to play. They're playing into a Hwei. Hwei bot is a thing for some of these teams, and it's very obnoxious. And you kind of see that in the game itself. Which, let's go ahead and click on that right here. What I particularly remember about this series, besides great Kiana play, was just the fact that Zelda continued to try to move on this Vel'Koz to set up for the team, but this time around he got punished a lot more. I mean, you are playing an immobile kind of artillery mage, maybe a control mage. I don't know if Vel'Koz falls under, but I guess he's kind of both. So you get punished more. Kiana can roam very easily, and Riki just started roaming around the map and just kind of taking things over. But let's talk about Team 3. Let's kind of talk about the team. I think the team is drafting well and playing around the picks properly. That's not an issue. But I think there is some issues in the early game with movement. Like I kind of just touched on Zelda moving around the map. I think if you're gonna play stuff like the Vel'Koz, maybe like Oriana picks, something like that, I really would definitely prefer less roaming if you can. Um, Especially if you're into a high mobility champion in the mid lane or around the map. So that is something I think is a bit of an issue where we're trying to I think he's trying to help the team a bit. Um, Even though he's playing phenomenally well on these picks, in my opinion. Um, I think the team is at times playing a little more aggressive than they have to. Like sometimes they have picks that scale well. Like here's Zaya Vel'Koz is going to scale well. You have great setup to kind of peel some of these champions off. It's not easy, but it is playable. I kind of feel like though Leona's good into something like the Rakan, just maybe playing something more with even more heavy peel might not have been a bad idea in a game like this. But I just don't think they're kind of. I think they're just playing too fast, and when you play too fast, it kind of gets you kind of punished a bit, and that's been, I believe, their biggest issue. Um, so yeah, we'll see kind of how they play in the weeks coming. Maybe they kind of change up some of their picks here, but like I said, I do like some of the picks that are coming out of Alves. He's definitely embracing kind of like I'll play more standard, and I think that's very smart. I know he likes his Morganas and his Rumbles, and I'm not saying don't play those. I'm just saying standard picks are stronger for a reason. I'm loving that out of him. I think Yakovic has been a really big bright spot in the top side of the map for them. He's played pretty much well in almost every lane he's been in. It's definitely not easy. There's good top laners in this league. I should point out that I think Noah coming in for Dippy looked excellent, right? Like he played well subbing in for Dippy. Um, but yeah, there's definitely some things to work on. Big Expert and Journey, they do their job well. Play the front to back pretty nicely. It seems like that's kind of what they want in their style. And I think they should continue to pick that. I think the team should continue to play around that kind of front to back esque comps. Um, just playing it a little slower, knowing when you have the scale. Like you don't have to force as much. Like you don't need a big goal lead in this game, I think, to win. But at the end of the day, I also just think Verika kind of just took over, right? Sometimes you kind of run into a buzzsaw, and Verika is a top two, top three mid laner in this league for a reason. He's a buzzsaw, you know. So it's not easy to control that guy. If you can get him off picks like this, that's great. But he continues to be diverse in his pool. The other thing is maybe pulling Angel Boy now off of Hawaii might be a good idea. If you're playing against this guy, like just getting him off Hawaii seems to be a nuisance on the pick. And it opens up for ADs in the mid lane for Rico, which he seems to really be gravitating towards. But again, this is not really. That's not an issue for Team 3 or anything. It's just in these situations, it's just like I said, you run into a team that's just solid. They got a solid core and whatnot. So I don't remember the exact ending of this game. So let's kind of go peek at that. But it was I will say this game won, but I do remember, man, it was a crazy good game. Like if you haven't watched it, definitely give it a watch. I think Team 3 like held their own in this game so well and did not give any free advantages to anybody with the exception of Erika, unfortunately, who's the person you don't want to give advantages to. But like that's it. Like I think they played the game overall well. Like it was to me it was a game they could have won without a doubt in my mind. So Team 3 kind of reminding me a little bit of like a Capachungus, where um, they're bringing in some people from, I think Zelda did play in the rec, and I was might have, I don't remember, but like, kind of like more rec league players overall, but like looking good as rec league players. And I think Zelda's upgraded his play from what I've seen him last in the Sweat League. I should point that out too. But yeah, sometimes you just run into it, man. So it's a top team in the group for a reason, along with Instinct. with that said, let's jump into game two. So game two here. Tara's getting another pick that loves here in the Vi. Marika getting AD in the mid again, what he likes to see. And then a Kog'Maw pickup, which will end up being an AP Kog'Maw here out of Angel Boy. And what a pick. The only thing I didn't like was Pyke. I feel like Pyke gets outscaled in that game so hard. And he kind of was struggling a little bit at certain parts, but realistically, he didn't really have a bad game. I think Higgins played the Pyke well, actually. We kind of see the damage share again, like Rurika on top of that. Noah though on this Gnar, and we're seeing more Gnar, and I'm liking Gnar. I think Gnar's might be kind of good again, guys. I don't know. I think I'm not for sure, but it looks good from what I've seen of it. Um, yeah, the Gnar just coming out here. Noah played that well, got some really nice fights off of that. I think Team 3 drafted an overall pretty good comp. It's just really unfortunate that you you end up going this Malphite and it doesn't get the advantage you're hoping it's going to get from just existing in the game. Part of that is there's still AP coming out of this Kog'Maw. But he wasn't really having much success against the Yone. And Rurika was just finding a way to get these kills. There were some ganks from the Vi, but yeah. I love the Sivir pickup. Sivir, Ornn, Nocturne, and Neeko just sounds disgusting. Unfortunately, the Neeko Journey really struggled on the Neeko. Kind of not really looking like a pick that he's really favoring, but he's willing to play for team because I think he's had some rough games on it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it was just another game where Rika kind of took over the game, and I think I'd be fair to say this. I don't think Zelda played a particularly great game here on the Malphite, so I don't know much more to say than that. But I think the draft still wasn't bad. I think it was still a winnable draft. Maybe just go a little AP in the Malphite build. That's probably my only thing I will say. Kind of talk about here, Fanboy Jellyfish. So their team, I think the weakness for them right now is some of the stuff they do is telegraphed a little bit from jungle. Kind of see consistently the same plays from Turris can get punished there in the early game. And I think Higgins and Angel Boy not being as acquainted. I don't think they've played with each other before, so I don't think they're as acquainted. So that's been a little bit of getting used to. And they're the newest members of the team. Everybody else is returning for the Jellyfish squad here. Obviously, Noah was filling in for Dippy, but Dippy, Turris, and Marika being on a team. They've been on a team together for 2 or 3 splits now. I don't remember exact amount. So they've definitely had some time together. The synergy's there. They look great as overall top side of the map. But I will say I think there's some overconfidence from them too. Kind of talked about it with the Vancouver squad. They know that they're good, and that's great because they are good. I'm not saying they're not, but again, that overconfidence can sometimes get in your head a bit, and you do see some mistakes from them in some series sometimes for that reason. But I think if they come in humbled and just looking to win the game, they're almost unbeatable. I think the team is very, very strong together. And they're not lacking any pool issues here, right? I think they have a very, very, very strong pool on most of their players. Dippy, as we've said for years, got an Ocean. He doesn't really have an Ocean, but he definitely can play a lot. Marika's shown his ability to play a decent amount of picks. He's definitely been favored with 80 picks lately, and we'll see how that kind of pans out as the split progresses. Higgins is the one I am curious about the pool, how deep it goes, just because he's playing a lot of Hook champions. He favors the Hook champs. I'm sure he could play more stuff. I'm curious. I would love to see it. If you're watching, brother, play some more stuff for me. Show me something spicy this week, coming up. But no, I think the team doesn't have too many major flaws. But there are small moments, and I think they have been tested so far this split. They did play Instinct, and that's not an easy matchup. But I think by the end of these 7 weeks, you're going to see a very, very, very strong unit once they've all really got these games in together. And I'm specifically talking the bot lane with the rest of the team. So I'm excited to see how that kind of pans out. We know how strong Angel Boy can be when he gets setups as well. So I'm not really too worried about is it just the Rurika show? It doesn't really feel like that. He seems to be the main carrier right now, but you can carry from top, you can carry from jungle, you can carry from from the AD role, and it kind of seems like Higgins can carry a game too in his own style. So the unit is very very good. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how it's going to pan out for the rest of the split for them. But they probably end up finishing number 2 in the group. I don't think that's really a question at this point. So we'll kind of just jump to the end of the game. Like I said, there wasn't really much happening. The biggest thing was just yeah, mid lane just kind of being a problem. And the game ended quick too. This was a very dominating game too, by the way. Like game 1 was really close, a fun game to watch, and I remember going like, "What happened in this game, bro?" Like that was just all right. It's over. That's it. Turn off the lights, man. GG. Literally. So definitely was a nice attempt, but Team 3, you faced the second best team in the group. It's not easy. But all right, we will move on to the final series of the week and the last teams here, which is Saboro versus Instinct, and there's nothing. I have nothing. Love it. I will start off by saying this. I was highly, highly impressed with the Sapporo team, what I've seen of them so far. And this game 1, man, I remember watching a little bit of it. They looked good, man. They definitely looked very, very good. Uh, the the team definitely definitely is going to be a challenger. Like I'm in the mindset they might just be winning this third spot in the group. Like that's kind of where I'm at. That's where I'm leaning right now. But any which way, yeah, this game 1 was a fun show. I think there's definitely damage on the side of Instinct, but it is very slow to like. There's some bursts from like Avalon here on the Zyra, which I'm not really a big fan of the Zyra pick. I know uh, he plays it, and I do think he plays it pretty well, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but the damage it's like they have damage, but it feels like the damage is just takes too long to do, especially when you have something like an Ashe pick. So Ashe plus Anivia just doesn't feel like the combo for me. And Good Boy pulling out a very interesting pick. I don't know if that was like a thing for CLTs. Like here's CLT. Here's an Anivia pick for you. I didn't like play it bad or anything, but I think the draft from Sapporo was solid, man. The Anivia can't just set up a free. She got to deal with a Galio engaging on her face from my Winter. Got the Varus locking her down with the Chain of Corruption. So it's definitely not easy, and that's not including the fact that there's also a death sentence, and then you have an Aatrox running at your face. I just think Nivea has a hard time playing this game. That's the biggest thing. You do have a nice front line here from Arctic and Don Don on both the Ornn and the Alostar, but it can be pretty difficult to play when, again, like there's so much stuff to get on top of you. How much can the Ornn and Alostar really tank before something finds its way in, right? And the Kindred ulti is really good at stalling a fight. Like you think you might have the win, but like she drops her ult, and all of a sudden, like they turn it around, which is also something. It's kind of big. Don't see a lot of Kindred anymore, but definitely think they played it really, really well. So as far as and I guess we can start with we'll start with Saboro. I haven't seen enough of this team to have like a full. It's kind of like a free to play thing. This other new team in the league. Um, I just overall like what I'm seeing. I don't think the team is lacking any hard macro play or ability to draft. I think they're drafting pretty well. So I got to see a little more from them before I can give like a really hard critique. Um, like I said, I was really, really impressed with this game 1 victory, and I think they looked really, really solid into Ghost the previous week. Um, so they're definitely showing a lot. They're really good at getting this jungler ahead. Um, play some of these aggressive picks. Nice shutdown there from Arctic. uh, but man, it was a crazy game. Also, I'm just thinking about this. Eclipse's quadra kill at the end of the game was crazy. Just a random Ash quadra kill. I'm sure he did a lot of damage overall in this game, though. It was one of the base defenses. I think it was this one right here coming up. Yeah, it was this one. I'm gonna just show this real quick because I just think it was. I was watching, like I said, some of the game live, and I'm like, wait, Ash is just kind of gliding. Eclipse is literally going off here. What is happening? Um, and it just get it was coming off like getting picks here, right? Like you start off with one play ended this jump and this jump and then Ash obviously the slows are just annoying. Dealing with Anivia is annoying. But yeah, absolutely nasty little quadra kill out of Eclipse. But the base was still broken. That was the big thing. The Baron was utilized. It got what it needed. So it's gonna be hard to play. Pretty nice Kindred ult too. I don't remember if he ends up killing the Anivia. No, he doesn't. Oh, this is a pentakill. I thought it was just a quadrikill. I forgot that it was a pentakill. Oh, my bad. My bad, Eclipse. Oh yeah, this was just like a pentakill too. By the way, my bad. Yeah, there you go. Jeez Louise. Honestly, when I was watching this live, I remember going like, "Oh yeah, it's pentakill too," and thinking to myself like, "Oh, the game is playable," and then it just actually wasn't. The inhibitors were gone. Base was destroyed. Kindred was doing so much damage. Um, yeah, crazy game one, man. Crazy game one. And really well fought by Saboro. So I think Saboro's got like, I want to see some more from them, but the jungler uh, gets a lot of nice setups in the game, and I think Tong Tong and Salty are playing bot lane well at the moment, and they're doing nothing wrong. And Terry Kim, he's terrifying. Call him terrifying Kim. Uh, Rorona terrifying Kim. That's his new name because that guy is a menace when if I've seen him in the top lane so far. It's very very good. Oh yeah, how much did the Ash do? He just showed it and I didn't look. I still know the Ash did damage. When I say low TPS, it's not that they're not gonna do damage. It's hard to explain sometimes. I think for some people. Yeah, Clips did like 40k. Oh jeez Louise, man was insane. Like I feel like everyone's gonna be like, Jake, you're just wrong. You're wrong. Like look at the damage. It's just it's different. It's like the Ash does the damage over time, but it's just it's slow, usually slowly done. That's kind of my point, I guess. Kind of similar to Anivia. They don't lack damage, I guess. It's hard to explain sometimes. Let's take a peek at game 2 here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch any more of the series. I think after this, I might have caught like some glimpses here of this game too. But Instinct, they're able to pick up the win here, and whatnot. So now Instinct, like what is like the weak point of this team? Well, I'm gonna tell you what I think is actually the weak point of this team, guys. There isn't a true weak point, but things that they can work on. I think it's like really just playing properly off of Good Boy through like the mid jungle combo because I think Avalon is really really good. But I've seen in the past, and I think this even goes back to their previous splits. Like there's sometimes where they kind of like make these little small mistakes together, um, even though like individually they're like really good players. Obviously, Good Boy is like the people think he's like the main unit of the team. Like these guys definitely know what they're doing. But kind of sometimes can punish them a little bit if you get behind in the jungle and it can be sometimes hard to play. Um, the drafting has always been solid. I think Arctic in the top lane has his champs. He gets his champs. Looks great. Um, I will say, and I love Arctic. He knows that. I do. I do worry about his champ pull deeper into series after what I saw last split. So I'm hoping that he's kind of upgraded some of that. Um, Don and Eclipse, like these guys are a solid bot lane. Never really having issues. Definitely like one of the best in the league. Uh, Eclipse is he just does his job so well. I've never like upset with how he plays. I do want to see him sometimes more on like give this guy a champion that he could just pop on, you know? Like I've seen his Kaisa. His Kaisa's really really good. I like that from him. Like I want to see that guy make plays. Um, but I think the unit overall is they don't really have a lot of glaring issues. I think we'll see more as they continue to play this split. But they're a top team for a reason, and there'll be no surprise where they're ranked after this week as well. Um, but yeah, their team fighting is fantastic. Too. God, it's gross. Dun Dun just a menace. I'm glazing right now. I hope they enjoy the glaze. If you guys can't tell, I'm kind of running out of stuff. I got not much left in the tank here by myself. I've been talking for like an hour and a half straight. It's insane. Literally just me. What just happened there? Poorly sin. But yeah, let's take a peek at the end of the game here. This is our only series that went 3 games, by the way. So we didn't have a clean sweep. I went too far. Uh, what happened? Oh my! Arctic took over too, but what happened in this game? Holy moly! Yeah, this was a bit of a shutout. So maybe we can identify some issues. I should definitely watch this game so I can talk about Sapporo what they need to work on because something happened. Arctic just completely dominated Terry Kim. I wouldn't expect that. Every game I've seen of Terry Kim, he looks so good. But I don't know. I guess I mean Pantheon into York shouldn't be that bad, but I guess it's annoying. You got to deal with an Ivern in the game, so like when you dive in, you don't really do that much damage. And they do have the draft is actually kind of not that great either. Maybe they could work some drafting. There you go. You guys work on some drafting here because now that I think about it, like Lee Sin, Pantheon, Karma, just Lissandra seems really strange draft together. Those champions like kind of want to play with each other. Like I think Lissandra, Pantheon like each other. I think Lee Sin and Lissandra like each other, but like I don't think the overall comp likes each other. Some anti synergy there. Um, Jesus, 20-minute game is not something you see often. That is actually insane. Instinct was not messing around after that loss. Holy moly! All right, well let's get into game 3. Kind of talked about these teams a bit, so we'll just go ahead and just kind of finish this up. We'll look at see what happened here in game 3. We'll do power rankings and we'll finish up the episode. So I actually did get a lot more out of the episode than I thought I would. I'm an hour and 37 minutes in, so I'm impressed with myself. um, I really hope you guys still end up liking the episode, man. So, um, oh man, Terry Kim solo kill on Arctic. Jax into Garen. What a what a fight. What a fight. Alrighty then. Jeffs look pretty solid from both sides. Good boy and Talia is actually terrifying. Vi into Jin Zhao. It's pretty. I'd say Jin Zhao favorite overall. Not when you're getting jumped on first though. Really nice play, and that's what I want to see from them. Like that's really nice play there from Good Boy and Avalon. Like sometimes, like I said, there's gonna be some little hiccups, but overall, if they're doing that type of stuff, looks fantastic. Um, but let's peer into the game a little more and just kind of see how the game is progressing. I mean, it looks to be a really really tightly contested game so far, right? Which is not bad. About a 4K gold lead, 4 5K gold lead at 20 minutes. So Instinct wasn't running away with this one like they were game 2. That game 2 is something. We have not seen many games like that. We're just an absolute shutdown of a team here in Sweat. But I'm just going to scroll over to the end because I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm a bit gassed out here. I would look over the game more, but I'm kind of done. So let's try to get. Where's the last fight? Okay, it's coming up. So yeah, let's talk about what's going on for the rest of the week. You got like 4 matches again this weekend. There's, I think, 3 on Saturday and 1 on Sunday, so that's exciting. That's a thing. We'll see if we can cast them all. We were so lucky to cast all 6 last week. It was actually really, really awesome. We were able to do so. We'll try our best to get them all done. We did miss the one on Tuesday, which was the Small Brains coin flip series. No spoilers. I won't talk about it here, but there was a series on Tuesday. Really, really nice Jax E-Flash. Kind of insane. Just a nice team fight out of Instinct. Arctic creating so much space. But yeah, so there's that. So what I said, what you all really come for every week. And I'm just going to show you them all because for the first time ever, I think, in a power rankings that I've done, there's barely any movement. It's crazy. So here they are. Here's the power rankings, guys. So on the right is what is the changes from the previous week. So yeah, you only see two changes, really, if you want to get technical. Some small movement. The reason why I moved Hashra down, I know that they had a bye, but I think that still kind of does matter. I'm not really punishing them per se for having the bye, but I think coin flip, these wins they're picking up, they've just been looking solid, so I moved them up 1. They go into the 2 spot. They're looking like a very, very strong team, like I anticipated. Still curious what they're going to look like with Matthias, but, that's why there's that movement there. Instinct staying at number 1, no surprise there. Ninja Turret staying at 4, still continually impressed with them. I moved Saburo up 1 over Femboys because of their 1 win over Instinct. I think that does matter. Femboys got O2'd, so that's why there's that movement. I'm not saying that Saburo necessarily is better than Femboys. I don't really know who is better yet. I actually am looking forward to that series because I think it's going to tell a lot about both teams. Though Saburo might have one of the worst losses too now, so I mean maybe I could just move them back down. No, I think their win over the 1 win is actually very, very impressive, so that's why I moved them up into that 5th spot, and then Femboys falling down to the 6th. The rest have stayed the same. There's not really much movement. The kind of middle of the pack there, where you see Small Brain, Scorch, and Same Banana Posse in Vancouver, they're all in the same group and are literally playing for the 3rd seed in that group right now. All sitting at either 1-1 or 1-2 in the group. So it's very, very tight. And then the bottom 4 teams there, this is the last week, I think. This is the last week Ghost will be on the power rankings. They were on a bye, so I figured I'd just keep them for this power rankings, but they will be coming off after this week, so we'll only have 13 teams in the power rankings. And then we have Team 3, Free to Play, and Capuchungas. I'm definitely considering moving Capuchungas up. I've been really impressed with their play. I want to see one more week out of both Capuchungas and Free to Play. Let's see if anybody can pick up a win here. And then that'll determine that. Team 3 still sitting at 1-2. They do have a victory. It's over Free to Play 2.0. So those are your bottom teams there at the 14th, 13th, 12th, and 11th spots. So the bottom part of the power rankings is really just going to come down to or not bottom, but like that mid tier, right? Of kind of who's making moves, So it's going to be very interesting end to the split, as we do have 4 more weeks, but it kind of feels like we only have 3 left with some teams already playing 3 matches, right? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching this episode. Sorry I was by myself. We all miss CLT. He's the man. He'll be back. Don't worry. We'll figure out our scheduling issues. It'll get better eventually, and I won't be dropping these on Friday right before all the series. But for now, this is just kind of what it is. So thank you all again for watching. Thank you all again for being a part of the community as always. And we'll see you guys tomorrow and Sunday. I probably will at least cast 1 of these series. I can't promise I'm going to do more than 1, but I'll be around. And I know CLT plans to do so as well. I'm sure Nexus will jump on 1. So it'll be a fun weekend, man. So thank you again. Talk to y'all soon. GG.